Okay, today is topic 1.4, the challenges of the Articles of Confederation. The learning objective is explain the relationship between the key provisions of the Articles of Confederation and the debate over granting the federal government greater power formerly reserved to the states. All right, before we even begin on that real quick, let's just kind of build up to it with a couple quick thoughts. America in the Revolutionary War, when we finally make the break with Great Britain, our goal is not to be like them. All right, imagine yourself, you're in some sort of relationship with someone else and you're being treated wrongly and you're upset and it's always on your mind. It's just a bad relationship. When you finally make the break away from that person or that relationship, the first thing that you're not going to do is get involved with another relationship that was just like that. Okay? You're going to want something different. All right? And it's no different with the colonists, what they wanted too. So, what they do is they create the Articles of Confederation, which establishes a firm league of friendship, which is going to be a confederacy, a loose group of states joined together by one bond. Now, the one thing about the AOC that you need to understand is it cherishes state sovereignty or states' rights, which means that states had the ultimate authority in their territories and they had ultimate discretion on the things they wanted to do. No one really had ultimate influence to tell them what to do and what not to do. They could decide themselves. So the AOC does get us through the Revolutionary War. However, after the Revolutionary War, America has serious problems, serious financial problems, social problems, a lot of unrest in the country, and there's no strong powered government to be able to solve these problems as well. So what your debate is going to be over is okay, it's all about the weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation. These weaknesses were such a disaster for the United States. Should we take these weaknesses and turn them into powers for the national government? And there's going to be a debate over that between the Federalists and Anti Federalists. But a quick review of the weaknesses. Number one, the government, federal government, could not tax. They could ask for money, but they couldn't tax. So there was no way to repay debts owed to foreign countries over the Revolutionary War. And other countries weren't breaking down the door to try to give America loans. Remember, America's a very young country. You don't know if you loan America money if you're going to get it back. So America is hamstrung by the fact that it can't raise any money. There was no ability to regulate interstate trade, so there's no uniform policy. So what was in place is each state had separate rules for trading with other states, and there was all these rules and all these paperwork, all this red tape that no one knew where they stood or what the rules were, and so on as well. And more importantly, is the federal government couldn't protect American businesses against foreign competition. So foreign businesses could come into America and sell goods at a cheaper rate than American products, and thus hurt American businesses. But there was no way to help those businesses because we couldn't regulate interstate trade. We couldn't exclusively coin money, so there was no uniform money, and so each state had its own money. So good luck figuring out, exchange rates with other states or what other states would accept your money or which ones wouldn't, or so on as well. And think of it like today: if you went into any kind of convenience store and you picked up a Pepsi and put it on the counter, and the cashier said that will be $2.15, and you hand them that money in pesos or rubles or yuan or francs, whatever, that person's going to look at you crazy because they don't accept that kind of money. They're expecting a dollar. And if they don't get that, you're not getting the product. So, welcome to what life would be like in Revolutionary War times and AOC times when if you don't have the right currency, you don't get to trade whatsoever. We couldn't raise an army or keep a standing army to ensure peace. And we learned from Shays' Rebellion, where a group of farmers expecting a bonus after the Revolutionary War took up arms and rebelled. And we learned the hard way with that. So when they begin to rebel, the United States, under the Articles of Confederation, ask states for other troops. And the other states basically tell them no. We are not going to supply troops nor any kind of resources to fight the war effort. It finally takes a private army raised by private funds to put down this rebellion. And what an ultimate failure. When we just came out of a Revolutionary War and we're having another kind of, I wouldn't call it a war, I call it a rebellion, all right, which is what it's called. And everybody turns to the federal government. Is like, all right, time for you to go, time for you to act up. And the federal government looks back at them and says, sorry, we can't. We don't have the power to do so. Now, there's no executive branch which can enforce any laws. And then, speaking of laws, the ability to pass and amend the Constitution were disasters. All right, it took 9 out of 13 states to agree to pass a law. All states had to be on board in order to amend the Articles of Confederation. Now, what happened in that environment is the small states joined up together in a faction, and they made sure that they always would vote together because they didn't want any law or any amendment to be passed that would weaken their states or their less populous states, would be unfair to them. So they always bounded up together and voted together and crushed any kind of law or amendment process. So it was a disaster. And then ultimately, if it wasn't mentioned in the Articles of Confederation, there was a lot of things that weren't mentioned in there. It ultimately fell to the states. So when we're talking about the debate of whether or not to grant the federal government power, yes, there's going to be a debate, Federalists versus Anti-Federalists. But ultimately, what's going to win out is is basically real life experience. America saw what a disaster the AOC was because it couldn't do this. All right. So even though these powers are fearful to a lot of people in a lot of states, giving them to a federal government, most are going to be in agreement that they're going to be necessary. All right, this is a necessary evil, if you've heard. And so, thus, even though there is a large debate, and even though there's a lot of papers written back and forth arguing on behalf or against the Constitution, it's ultimately accepted as the supreme law of the land because real life shows us that without these powers, the federal government or the United States in general is a disaster. So that's all I got today. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to cover a couple more topics tomorrow. Don't forget to keep doing your study guide. It is specifically designed for the exam. It can only help, and there's questions all over AP Classroom, so log into there, look at those. And if you have any questions, concerns, or comments, always contact me. So see you tomorrow. Take care.